to do the South Shore and clear out what they can, and it looks like we are off.
We are an immediate... Wow, Hammer and Sanctuary. What a nice find early.
Finding a weapon this early is really nice, as it allows you to go through the escape pretty quickly, if you choose to do that early on.
A lot of runners like to try to catch peripheral checks first before they go into Kakariko Village, so that hopefully they can find everything they need for Dark World access and just enter it right there. But other runners instead choose to just say, shine it, I'm going straight to Kakariko, because that's where the highest concentration of chests are, so...
We get a full magic off of the loads here for the tree poles, which is pretty nice.
It's not bombs nice, but it's still pretty nice. Alright, nothing of importance from the crab. Uncle with bombos, that's always nice.
And in the lumberjack cave, we have 50 rupees. That doesn't rule him out yet, but, or Aghanim anyway. Doesn't rule him out yet, but it's certainly less of a chance now that people will go for it.
Chat will have to find something else to meme about. I'm already sad for them.
I'm not.
That's right, Twitch chats, fight us. Alright, so it looks like the rest of the runners picking up their hammers in the Sanctuary. A nice triple bomb drop in the Lost Woods. That's pretty nice. It's always handy to have bombs going into Kakariko because of the sections you need to bomb to get all the chests for.
The back of Kakariko Well, the back of the Blind's Hut, and the chicken house.
That is correct.
We find the lamp in the Lost Woods drop, so we do have a fire source as well as a way to see in the dark.
Yeah, a very handy item to have. I can see a lot of runners opting to check out Lumberjack Tree, even though they don't have early boots. Perhaps playing it safe, since it is a qualifier race.
Or just trying to gather up as much information as they can, so they can keep that in mind as they're in this little downtime walking around.
Yeah, certainly true. Alright, so it looks like P-Train is the first of our runners to enter Kakariko proper in the upper right of your screen there. He's going to be entering Blind's house there. Be picking up a glorious 5 treasure chests of unknown contents.
Now, he is a bit short on rupees, so we better hope to find a bunch here and in the well in order to pay off the bottle merchant. He finds a sword, which is very nice.
About sword and hammer early, very nice. That's 20 bucks. You need 50 rupees between the other rupees you find in this area to pay off the 100 rupees to the bottle vendor, so...
More bombs is always a plus.
Oh yes, definitely. Especially if money's short, you don't have to worry about, like, do I buy bombs on the way out? Because there is a bomb vendor in town. So yeah, sword's pretty nice. I'd say with sword and hammer early, that definitely gives pretty good combat options to our runners here.
It looks like we're just about 10 rupees short from paying off the bottle merchants. We found 1 red in Blind's Hut, 1 red so far in the Kakariko Well, so hopefully we find 1 more.
The second of 10 arrow drops there. And there it is. So we've got, oh wow, and extra. Spare change. I don't think the bottle vendor accepts tips. He does accept bees, though.
Well, specifically sparkly ones.
That's true.
Which, for those who don't,
is important.
For those who don't know, if you do release a sparkly bee near the bottle vendor, it might go near him, and he'll give you $100 for it.
Yeah, it's a bit harder to pull off than you would hope, but it's really nice. It's a good option to have in rando if you're looking for money. Meanwhile, the bottle vendor has one of the worst trades ever for churning 100 rupees into 20. It's a pretty neat trick.
Well, you give him 5 reds and he gives you 1 back.
I'd like to think that Link would give him 100 greens just as punishment.
Well, we find a bottle in the back of the tavern, which opens up the Sick Kid item here, which is quite convenient, considering how close they are.
Yeah.
And we get a blue cane, so we have both invulnerability items.
Yeah, the randomizer does account for invulnerability items for a few locations, so it's always something to keep in mind when you're trying to figure out where the logic may or may not be sending you. Also, the cape is very dashing, and the blue cane lets you know that everyone, that you mean business.
I think I saw another arrow pickup on the library bookshelf there, so I don't think we're going to come back to Kakariko once we find the boots.
Yeah, it was a little hard to tell in the restream, but I believe you are correct. And Race Game has just a piece of heart. P-Train says, no thanks, I'm out of here. See, there was a piece of heart in the house, so he didn't need to pick up the Race Game one. All right,
and he's heading toward escape now.
Yeah, upper right of the screen is heading toward escape. With hammer and a sword, either one of those would be more than sufficient to clear this area out. Part of the reason why P-Train felt like he was ahead during the Kakariko section is because he did not do this first like his other runners did. So.
And we have Bentisi taking the first dip down to the south shore. Looks like he's heading toward the dam first.
Yep, that's a pretty nice check. Pretty quick for 2 items, and most likely he'll head over to Mini Moldworm Cave next. Unless he finds something that really points him toward the desert area. So P-Train will pick up a little bit of time over his competitors here because that he was able to tie in both the Uncle section of Escape with Escape proper. So if it turns out something important is in here, he might gain a little time for that synergy there. Meanwhile, we've got Soggy Rupees on Bentisi's screen and another 10 arrows.
So that doesn't really scream desert to me, so he's going to pick up those Soggy Rupees, and I imagine he's going to head over to Mini Moldworm Cave from there.
Yeah, maybe he'll find a towel there and he can wipe him up. Meanwhile, our first chest in Escape by P-Train there is just a piece of heart. Honestly, in terms of junk items to find early on in the game, pieces of heart are not too worrisome. Although, speaking of worrisome, I'm a little worried for Bentisi. He's got a half a heart going into Mini Moldworm Cave, and he must have been worried too, because he opted for Bombo strats.
Bombo strats are not bad at all, considering how you have to go down each lane if all you have is just a sword and a hammer. And he doesn't have too many bombs, so I agree with using the bombos there.
Yeah, definitely. Ooh, Master Sword. Master Sword and Lantern, does that smell like anything to you, Taj?
Well, with the cape there, definitely it does.
Yep. Interestingly enough, Bentisi opting to skip out on the Ice Rod Cave check, or at very least putting it off.
Maybe he wants to pair that more with the Zora area, and just doesn't have the funds to really justify that decision yet.
Yeah, a very fair assessment. So he's heading over to the Eastern Palace area. Still don't have a map check from either runner, so we don't know exactly what is and is not a crystal or a pendant.
We saw the map for the Hyrule Castle in the ball and chain chest there, so there's still going to be some items in the very back of Escape, but likely we're not going to get there until we find a glove.
Alright, let's see what's in Sasha's garage. Some semi-vanilla bombs, arrows, and a piece of heart. So nothing particularly exciting.
Leslie Pro playing it real safe, using the cape to get by all these crabs, because they do deal 2 hearts of damage to Link and Green Male.
Yep, that's part of being smart about Randomizer is minimizing your potential losses and taking a little tiny bit of extra time to assure that you do not die horribly. It's definitely a time saver.
And
nothing
rewarded with 300 rupees for that, though, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, I was about to say, not super critically important, but definitely very handy to have. I mean, that's potentially Zora money if he gets in logic with either the gloves or the flippers here.
Or it could just go for Houlihan and fake flipper his way over there. Or her way.
Very true. Again, it's all about the routing and the synergies. How well can you pair things together? How fast can you, it's like it's a race or something, Taj. I don't know what's going on.
I wish I knew.
Alright, so it looks like we've got our runners covering things that each other would already show. Okay, so Tower of Hera is a green pendant, and we get the Sahasra green pendant check from Leslie Pro in the upper left corner there. So that means if we manage to clear out Tower of Hera, we'll have one more item being held by Sahasrahla there.
We have Desert as a red crystal and Eastern as another regular crystal, so we've got those two to get through, at the very least.
What a nice variety of Light World dungeons. You got a 5/6 crystal, a regular crystal, and a pendant.
Specifically the green pendant.
Alright, so it looks like Leslie Pro is heading over to Eastern proper.
So is Febreze Ninja, and P-Train is heading over to the Ice Rod Cave, while Bentizi is finishing up the Escape dungeon, the bottom part of it anyway. Looks like he's going to attempt a Death Warp here, so he might be going for the chest in the sewers that he can reach right now.
Yep, technically in logic with a lantern.
That is something that P-Train did not do. At least I didn't see him go for it.
Yeah, I don't believe he did it either.
If there's a small key there, he may have missed out on getting the 3 chests in the very back of Escape there.
First chest in Eastern Palace, just a filled green bottle. So we already had a bottle, so it doesn't open up anything new, but it's always nice to have a extra green goo for maybe later in the seed if you need extra magic.
Yeah, so our runners do have a blue go already, so the extra green is some nice protection, especially for bosses like Cold Stare.
Yeah, you never know you're going to end up in a situation where you feel compelled to do Fighter Sword Cold Stare, which is never fun.
At that point, you might as well use the hammer. And we find the Moon Pearl.
Moon Pearl in the basement.
P-Train might be hurting from that later.
Yeah, he might find something that would compel him to check the back of Escape, like if he finds the gloves or something, that might save him. But yeah, that could be a time coster for P-Train, depending on how the rest of the seed plays out. And with Moon Pearl in hand, Bentizi says, I smell that Aghanim, and I'm going for it. I'm going to bite down. I'm gonna eat that delicious meal.
Certainly not a bad decision, considering he does have the lamp, the Master Sword, and the cape, which basically covers all the bases that would unlock Aghanim.
Yeah, very true. And with the hammer and Moon Pearl in hand, he does have access to quite a bit of the Dark World once he gets through Aghanim here. It is definitely a bit of a gamble, because if you go to all this trouble and it turns out that glove was on like a Gina or something, you might have lost yourself some time. But sometimes you just got to follow what the seed's logic is presenting to you.
And who knows, maybe if this pays off, he winds up taking a larger lead from people, as maybe he finds that one glove is in Dark World and finds another behind it.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, we've got the rest of our runners making their way through. Oh, P-Train having a little bomb issues there. He's just really excited about Sahasrah's garage. And can you blame him, really?
I mean, it's 3 items.
Yeah, I always find cool stuff in my grandpa's garage. Usually not a quarter of a severed, heart. That would be kind of weird.
I would have some questions for your father then.
All right, so looked like that hint in Eastern Palace was regarding a shield. It went by a little fast for me.
Said it was in Ganon's tower, so I don't think that's going to be prudent for our runners to care about for right now. However, in the Aga Tower, it looks like I saw bombs and a compass in Fire-Locked Mire.
Yep, that is what I saw as well.
So that means once we get to Misery Mire, those 2 chests are not really going to be worth it to check, which could save our runners some time.
Yep. Yeah, even just knowing that those are garbage and also not a big key, very helpful for your planning. So yeah, outside of knowing that those items were off limits and perhaps getting a useless hint, Eastern Palace not really bearing a lot of fruit for these runners here.
Yeah, and there isn't too much left of the Light World that we can realistically check as far as what is in logic. I think it's down to pretty much just Agina.
I believe you're correct. Now, there's a few of the minor glitches that they could utilize, fake flippering and what have you, to have access to more items that aren't technically in logic. But I do like the play that Bentizi has made here with this semi-early Aghanim 1 play. All right, the real question is, are the rest of these runners going to remember to do the same checks in the Hyrule Castle basement for that Moon Pearl? 'Cause
That
that's
is
going
going to
be
be
an important.
important. Yeah.
You feel a lot better about doing the Aghanim play when you know you've got a Moon Pearl in your hand. Speaking of Aghanim, Bent Easy, enjoying the delightful, absolutely no RNG, definitely not the most annoying fight in the NMG run of this game.
Well, I wouldn't say it's the most annoying. It's certainly one of the more boring ones, to be honest.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot going on there. You do get to enjoy the fun that is counting, whether or not you get blue balls or not.
Well, that's optional. As long as you hit the orange ones, it doesn't really matter how many you get, because all the other runners will have the exact same, given to how the way the randomizer program is done.
That is true. Yeah, for competitive integrity, it's always good to have the same randomness pool.
And now we have our first foray into the Dark World.
Yeah, we'll see what he gets here.
And
Pyramid
there's a
item.
glove right there on the pyramid.
Wow.
That play paying off already.
Yeah, you've got to feel good about that play when you're instantly rewarded.
Man, it wasn't even locked away in pot or anything where it could have been. It was just right there.
So Ben opting to take that glove and head straight to the back of Escape, where he knows that there has to be where he's already gotten the map, so he knows it's a relatively well-stocked location.
Well, he also knows that the small key has to be back here too, so there's 2 items in here that he can get. That's the bug net and the shovel.
Probably not the most exciting of items, but that shovel is a mystery.
And it looks like he's going to go ahead and resolve that mystery right away.
Yeah, interesting that with all the options available to him, he is definitely chasing down this kind of chain of items. Without the mirror in hand, it does kind of make sense because it's not guaranteed he's going to be able to route this in with anything else.
And it also brings him close to the town, which I assume he was going to go for anyway after going to the back of Escape. So
Yep.
It's not too far out of his way.
Yeah, at 4 hearts, picking up that heart container, not a terrible idea.
And now we see him head down toward the Hype Cave, which is by this swamp portal here. As Leslie and P-Train are making their way up Aga Tower. P-Train is nearly... No, he's just started with it, and Leslie Pro is nearly done. There's our map check. We have Ice and Turtle Rock as the other 2 pendants, and Thieves Town as the other 5/6 crystal.
Pendant Ice is always a mystery, I guess. Ice Palace being kind of a notorious dungeon. But with the addition of the hint tiles, definitely, perhaps a little bit more juicy in this version of the randomizer than in previous ones.
Yeah, it has more hints than any other dungeon, clocking in at 3. Find the flute, some money, another bit of hearts, and the tempered sword. So pretty good cave there.
Yeah, I'd give that a, in terms of offense and some survivability, I'd give that a solid 6 out of 10 hype cave.
Unfortunately, without the mirror, he can't cash in that flute activation yet.
It is unfortunate, though. But, perhaps old Stumpy will have the mirror. That would be almost too perfect.
Yeah, it is going rather well.
Meanwhile, Febreze Ninja having a little bit of trouble. That room in Aghanim's tower is definitely very annoying with all those guards in the tight spaces. Wow, and flippers on old Stumpy.
We're going to be moving all across the world here.
Yeah, with gloves, flippers, and flutes, quite a bit of things have opened up for Batizi here, and will shortly for the rest of our runners who are now in Aghanim's tower as well.
All we're really missing in terms of movement at this point is the mitts, as far as unlocking most things on the overworld.
Yeah, very true.
Well, I guess the mirror as well.
Digging game. Your 1 to 30 potential time wasters is always amusing. And by amusing, I mean annoying.
Looks like he's digging for some more money there for a little bit, and I guess he's done.
Yeah, I don't know if he was looking for perhaps maybe, pod money maybe with bottle glitch. I don't know. With all the other things on the table, it's kind of hard to tell where Ben wants to go here.
Then he may feel like he can find more money in other chests in other locations rather than trying to dig it up out of the ground.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, if you wait too long for that dig game, then you have to go through the text box saying that the dig game's over, which is more time lost.
Although we do know there is a 300 rupee hoard in the Ice Rod area.
Yeah, that is one chest that Ben did skip. So I do like this play here. He is activating his flute and then likely taking the Skull Woods, or rather the Lost Woods Warp Tile to get some work done in the Dark World. Meanwhile, Leslie Pro picking up that Power Glove.
And P-Train and Febreze Ninja in about the same spot in Aga Tower here.
And it looks like Leslie Pro is opting to head straight down. Oh wow, making the pod play.
Well, we might see the bottle glitch in action here. We don't know exactly how the layout of Palace of Darkness is yet, but it could wind up being bow-locked depending on what's in the very first chest.
Yeah, very true. Meanwhile, P-Train heading into the Aghanim 1 fight, and Bent Easy rescuing the old man.
There isn't actually much he can do on Death Mountain until he finds the hookshot or the mirror.
Yeah, I mean, with the flute, it's not like that, you know, rescuing the old man's going to get a whole lot faster, I guess. Maybe if you'll have boots later, it could get a little faster, but maybe he just wants to get this out of the way.
It doesn't even get that much faster because you can't really dash with the old man.
Yeah, I mean, you can dash to get to him, but yeah, that's about it. You got to be careful when you're hanging out with those of advanced age. They've got, you know, perhaps brittler bones, but great stories and wisdom to share, Todd.
I don't know. I've seen this guy jump off of mountain ledges before.
That's true. Wow, was that the bow on top of Spectacle
Rock? There we go.
All right, well, at least we know the bow is not going to be in Palace of Darkness now. But the powder is very interesting.
Which does mean that pod is bow-locked, but Leslie decided to not go for the bottle glitch.
I did see one of the bottles that Leslie had was empty. A unique item requires a bottle.
Was there anything on Sick Kid?
I'm trying to remember what was on Sick Kid.
I think that's the only one that actually requires a bottle.
I think you're correct. Kane. It was Kane and Bryna. Thanks, Twitch chat. I'm sorry for making fun of you earlier. I'm not really sorry.
I'm not either. But here we see Benteezy heading over to Desert, sees the money hoard up there, and is heading off elsewhere. So he knows where some money is.
Yeah, I was just wondering if he was gonna... he was trying to wear that Mushroom Explodey guy as a hat, and it did not work out. Alright, so P-Train picking up the gloves after his Aga Tower adventure. Now, you'll have to remember, he never picked up that Moon Pearl, like the rest of the runners on screen. So he's got to be thinking, oh wow, I need to check all these glove lock locations. I have a feeling he's going to check at the back of his escape and most likely find his Moon Pearl soonish.
Yeah, he will find the small key back there, so he'll be able to backtrack through escapes to reach that chest.
Alright, well, Benteezy, meanwhile, picks up his 300 rupees. And it looks like is heading into Lost Woods, probably for Village of Outcasts, Skull Woods area.
Meanwhile, Leslie Pro is immediately turning in that powder check, heading straight over to the Batcave.
Yeah, now, if this is something critical, this could be a really strong play for Leslie Pro. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what the friendly neighborhood magic bat curses what item it contains. Oh, triple bombs. Unfortunate.
Yeah, not nearly as useful in this version as it was in previous ones, because usually at this point you have a bunch of bombs from drops and such already, and the cap is 10 unless you decide to buy some more.
Meanwhile, in the upper right portion of your screen, we'll see P-Train finally catching up here, picking up that very critical Moon Pearl. He's probably kicking himself a little bit for some inefficiency, but that's alright.
Looks like Febreze Ninja lost Kiki for a moment there due to running into one of the enemies down there. So he had to go pick him back up, pay another 10 rupees to the little scam monkey.
Friendship is expensive in Hyrule. Although I guess relatively speaking, 10 rupees is not that much. Alright, so Febreze Ninja will be picking up the powder here in Palace of Darkness. We'll see if Febreze Ninja opts to do any bottle glitch tricks.
Bentisi heading straight into Thieves Town with the hammer in hand. Seems like a pretty good play.
Yeah, really solid. Thieves Town is a crystal. You have everything you need to clear it. The only way this gets any more optimal is if you could somehow do this with the boots just to make it go a little faster, but after a certain point, you just have to get her done.
And it looks like Febreze Ninja is going to go for the bottle glitch here.
Do you want to explain exactly how this bottle glitch works for us, Taj?
It's actually really easy. All you have to do is drink a potion while walking left, and it moves the camera just a little bit. But this allows you to enter through the bomb door on the far left side in such a way that the camera doesn't quite lock right. And what this allows you to do is on the next screen where the mimics are, is scroll them off screen, and then the game just says, oh, there's no enemies here. They must all be dead. And the door opens.
Did that screen get scrolled over all the way?
It's okay, he can walk back and unlock it again, and now he can drink his potion and do it fine.
Nice. Worth mentioning that, unfortunately, Febreze Ninja did forget to check the hint tile in the room that was just above, but very understandable. That's one that a lot of people could forget about.
And you see the camera's kind of going halfway in one room, halfway in the other. And once all the mimics are off screen, the door opens.
Nice. Yeah, very well executed bottle glitch there by Febreze Ninja. Meanwhile, we've got Leslie Pro also entering Thieves Town.
Meanwhile, P-Train is heading towards Stumpy and likely digging game immediately afterward.
Alright, so bow-locked pod so far. Most of the goods will probably be in the back of it, but we'll be seeing shortly here.
Two small keys.
Oh, interesting. We didn't mention it because we were talking about the bottle glitch, but there was a mirror picked up in Thieves Town.
And we see the hint in Thieves Town says that there's a heart piece that requires the Cane of Samaria.
Handy information to know, sort of, I guess, but not as handy as a more critical item could be.
And Bentisi just reached 500 rupees, so that's enough for Zora at the moment. But still got to pay off Kiki at some point.
Yeah, very true. Alright, we're going to be seeing some more of what is behind bow-locked Palace of Darkness here on the bottom right corner of our screen. Looks like it is more keys in the Palace of Keys.
Another heart container is nice. We're up to 5 now for Febreze Ninja.
Yeah, the seed's been pretty stingy with heart containers so far. I mean, we're about a half an hour in and still only at 5 for all of our runners here. Oh, the boots! The boots in Bow-Locked Pod. Very nice. Still definitely a little too soon to see if that was worth going in here where we know the bow is mirror locked, but it's still a pretty nice pickup. And we got 3 more chests here for Febreze Ninja to check.
While Bentisi goes off to go kill Blind real quick.
Blind is one of those fights that is scripted, so if you can execute the fight in the same way every single time, it can be pretty straightforward. But if it does get off the rails, it can be tough. Oh, and it looks like Febreze Ninja taking a death. I did not see if Febreze Ninja got all the chests.
I think it was intentional.
Was it? Okay.
I don't think he got the big key, and so he wasn't able to check the big chest from that run there.
Oh, sure, yep. The front of pod is definitely a place that can have the big key. And since Febreze Ninja did not have the boots, couldn't do any bonk strategies after the Crystal Switch room, so... But opts instead to say no thank you. Alright, so Bentisi will be picking up his mirror here. Which I erroneously said was in Thieves Town. It's technically the village of Outcasts. Thieves Town is like an incorporated village inside the village of Outcasts proper. I didn't study the zoning map before the match started. I apologize, guys.
I've also heard of Thieves Town being called Gargoyle's Domain in other pieces of information, so who knows what it's really called.
Alright, well, Febreze Ninja will be happy to find both of the flutes and a sword upgrade here in Hype Cave.
Meanwhile, Bentisi is checking out the bumper ledge, where he will need the cape to get the item on top if he chooses to go for it, but it's just 10 arrows, so screw that.
Alright, pretty straightforward, nice blind fight by Leslie Pro there.
Looks like Bentisi is going to check out the graveyard ledge here with the newly acquired mirror.
Yeah, graveyard ledge is kind of annoying to check. You'll see that Ben had to start from the bottom and kind of zigzag his way through the graveyard. Without either the mitts or the boots, it's kind of an annoying location to check, but still in logic.
It's still kind of annoying to check even if you have both of those things.
It's even more annoying. I think we can agree that it's annoying.
But another heart container is certainly worthwhile to pick up.
Yeah, at this point, I'm picking that up every time. Sunk cost fallacy. I'm picking up whatever's in Graveyard Ledge every time I go there.
Even if it's just a singular green rupee.
I would crush the rupee up and mix it with my powder. Like to be extra swag when I'm turning anti-fairies into fairies.
Or dead rocks into slimes.
Alright, so we see Bentisi in the bottom left corner taking advantage of the flippers. We'll be heading over to Catfish here. I would imagine we're going to be seeing a Catfish and Zora check with that mirror. Would make a lot of sense.
It'll also be the first time that we see the Zora area.
We'll have to see how much advantage Febreze Ninja could make with these boots. So making checks like this and Bonk Rocks and a few other locations, or perhaps prioritizing Desert earlier than you might normally because you have those boots would be a solid plan. But either way, you're theoretically going to be making up some time, a little bit of time every screen if you can utilize those boots properly.
So not as much as you would think. It's only a few minutes per hour. And these usually don't last for more than 2, so... A lot of people love the boots so much, but I think they're overrated.
Very true. But I didn't say a lot of time, I just said some time, to be fair.
That is fair.
We're nothing if not fair here at Link to the Past Randomizer. And by fair, I mean items are all placed not very fairly. Alright, bottom right corner of your screen, Febreze Ninja, utilizing those boots from the bottle glitch and pod. See if anything worthwhile is in the Bonk Rocks.
Cane of Samaria!
Wow! What a play!
That works out pretty well.
That is pretty sweet. Cane of Samaria, 100% required in this seed because of Misery Mire, and perhaps for other reasons. So that is a pretty solid play there for Febreze Ninja. Meanwhile, the Zora area not bearing a lot of fruit for Benteezy. Wow,
Not
those
at
are the
all.
most expensive bombs I've ever seen.
I think that's about as expensive as they get.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of the smallest amount of bombs you can get in the randomizer is 3 apiece.
Or one
Yep.
big one.
Very true.
It looks like Benteezy is heading up Death Mountain and will use the mirror to get to Tower of Hera, as well as to pick up the bow that we saw on Spectacle Rock.
Yep, and most likely since he knows that both Pod and Eastern Palace are crystal dungeons, and he's got the mirror, that'll probably be a pretty high priority on his list, but it would be a shame not to check Death Mountain while you're already up here. We'll see how hard he's willing to commit.
It's also going to be interesting based on the key layout of Hera, because we can get at least one hint from the entrance, but if we have to go through the tile room at the bottom to get the big key, it might not be worth going for that second hint up by the big chest.
Yeah, it just kind of depends on how much of a blowout you're willing to risk. You know, we already saw Benteezy skip something like Ice Rod Cave and go back later to check it. Alright, does pick up the rupees, so we'll see if it's a big key or a small key here in this chest.
But first, the hint is a joke.
I mean, who doesn't enjoy some beans on toast? Alright, it is the big key, so Benteezy says, alright, I'm already here, let's keep going. I've got one more item and one more hint tile to check.
Well, not
Seems
only
like a
that,
reason.
this is the Green Pendant Dungeon, which is another thing that he could take with him on his trip to Eastern and Palace of Darkness.
Oh yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, if you want to maximize your synergy, and with Temperate Sword, this fight should go pretty quickly.
Just a spin and a slash. Or a spin and a dash.
Counterpoint, you could also slash and then spin. Just saying. You could also hammer then spin. Alright, we
That's
got
the
more bombs
second
locked by
item.
Canis Samaria.
That's the second item that's locked by Cain of Samaria specifically. First it was a piece of heart, and now it's some bombs.
Oh no!
Oh, but we missed the bomb jump there.
Oh, and he pays the maximum Tower of Hera price. That is 2 floors that you fall down. Yikes.
And to heck with that. We are done with Hera for now.
This is going to be one of those things that just in the back of Benteezy's mind is just going to bother him the entire rest of the seed.
What could have been?
It's the item that got away. Alright, so Floating Island and Death Mountain. Just a heart container, not too exciting. Oh, okay, so it looks like the free bottle fill in this seed is Red Potion. Not too bad.
So now we got Leslie Pro heading up to the Zora area, following right behind Febreze Ninja. And P-Train is finishing up Thieves Town, as Benteezy is finishing up Spiral Cave.
Yeah, Febreze Ninja will enjoy those high-quality luxury bombs. They explode with extra pizzazz. They don't do any more damage, but they do more psychological damage because your opponent knows how much money you spent on those bombs, and they'll know that you really hate them.
Do you think he threw 3 out of his inventory just to pick those 3 up?
I would assume so. I mean, they're high-quality bombs, Taj.
I don't think the price really necessarily means they're high quality.
That is very true.
Now the Super Bomb, that's a high quality bomb. That's a big boom for some buck.
Agreed. Plus, it reminds me of Orange Dreamsicle, which is always a plus. Alright, let's see what is in the rest of what we like to call Paradox Cave. Benteezy, see, if that had been, if he hadn't had a Zora bomb there, that unnecessary bomb he threw at the mini Moldorms to taunt them, it wouldn't have had the same effect.
Well, we find
That seems
another
like-
bottle, and we find the Ether Medallion. So we're 2 for 3 for the medallions.
Yeah, it's always nice to be in a situation where you just incidentally find all 3 medallions, so you don't have to worry about that 1 medallion for a crystal dungeon. Also, we didn't point it out while it happened, but Febreze Ninja, continuing to put those boots to good use, did do a swag shovel dash on the way to do the dig up item, so points for that.
So now Benteezy is heading over to Eastern and Palace of Darkness, and will clear out as much of those dungeons as he can at this point.
Yeah, it's a pretty good synergy with both the bow and the mirror.
Just a shame that he doesn't have the green pendant to go with it.
Yeah, if only bomb jumps weren't awful. Be interesting to see if he decides to do Palace of Darkness first over Eastern Palace. We, with our God Vision, know that that's probably going to be faster since it will give him access to boots faster. Most likely he will, since it would require less mirror teleporting, but we'll see.
Yeah, each of those mirrors costs about 3.5 to 4 seconds, so it's worthwhile to save a few here and there.
Alright, so Febreze Ninja
missed the ledge with that hop down. I think he was trying to go and see the hint tile down there.
would be my guess, yeah, but just having the knowledge of that bow is definitely handy.
Just got to pick up that mirror from the sea house first.
Yeah, Febreze Ninja did spend all that time getting the boots out of Pod and grabbing that sweet Canis and Maria, so Febreze Ninja has not been to the Village of Outcasts subsidiary of Thieves Town area incorporated.
And we just see from the hint in Palace of Darkness there that the boots are indeed in Palace of Darkness.
Wow. So nothing but high quality hints here in this seed. I bet the next hint tile is going to tell me the water is wet.
No bet.
I was trying to not laugh so that joke would die, but you actually got pity chuckle out of me. Good work. Well played.
I aim to please.
Alright, so looks like Febreze Ninja picking up that mail. We get to see a bright blue Trogdor.
Now he's climbing the mountain one more time here. He might be heading toward the Spike Cave. We haven't seen that be done yet. And we have both the invulnerability items, the hammer, and a glove. So we can go ahead and check this.
I believe you also need... do you need a bottle for that to also be in Logic or half magic?
No, just the Cane of Birna is enough.
That's what I thought. So yeah, Febreze Ninja definitely giving us some ground paving item checks here.
P-Train heading into Tower of Hera. We'll see if he decides to go a bit further than Benteezy did.
Oh wow, Mushroom and Birna Cave.
Interesting.
Mushrooms are always interesting, Taj. Whether they're on your pizza or otherwise.
I do like mushrooms on my pizza.
Alright, so P-Train also continuing to stay on the Tower of Hera hype train.
And we see the mushroom being turned in right away on Febreze Ninja.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta chase those items. It's paid off pretty well for Febreze Ninja lately, with the boots leading to Canis and Maria. Unfortunately, those mushrooms just turned into 10 arrows. That's a pretty weird alchemy trick. Meanwhile, we've got Benteezy working on hammer jump. Very well done with a double bomb hammer jump. Good work.
Now, if I recall correctly, Febreze Ninja did not open up the big chest in Palace of Darkness, and so we know that the map is there now. I don't know if he knows that, though.
I believe you're correct. It looked like the items were of no consequence anyway, but if you're going for completeness while you're in that dungeon, that will be some time that Febreze Ninja will have to spend going back. Alright, so P-Train successfully making his way all the way up to the Moldworm fight. So we'll get to see potentially what green pennant will be, and I believe the second item in Hera is still unknown. I could be wrong.
I'm seeing from chat that it's bombs, so we may have Hera completely cleared out here. Yeah, it has to be the small key here from Moldorm.
Yep, with a map and or compass in the basement then, which
Yeah.
nobody will care about. Well, I guess unless you're a cartographer, you might care about it then. No love for the cartography joke, Todd?
No, none.
No, okay, all right. That's fair. And as we previously established, Rando is nothing if not fair.
Here we have Bentisi heading over to Helmasaur. P-Train clearing out the east side of Death Mountain. Febreze Ninja in Skull Woods. And Leslie Pro climbing Tower of Hera. Now, I know that one of our other runners did go through Skull Woods before, but I happened to miss what we found in there. So far, it looks like just a piece of heart.
Yeah, nothing particularly exciting. The map was in the right side of the entrance.
The compass on the left.
So the front of Skull Woods also good if you're a cartography fan, Taj.
Well, all these dungeons happen to have one of them, so cartographers must love Hyrule.
Yeah, that's a good point. Or just the Legend of Zelda in general. That and locksmiths. There's always a lot of locked doors and keys.
You think Ganon actually hires them?
That's a good question. You know, maybe he found the only magic all key. It took him 2 Legend of Zelda games, but he did finally find and kill him, so he's not making a master key, for the 3rd Zelda game.
Either that or you just figured out how to design a lock that breaks the key when you try to use it.
Yeah, that's a pretty neat trick. Speaking of neat tricks, Bentisi finishing off Helmasaur.
Leslie Pro finishing off Moldorm.
I did not quite see what was on Helmasaur. What with all the explosions.
Yeah, I missed it too, so I'm not entirely sure.
Tracker just
What we might
updated
have
from
found.
Temper to God. It was Gold
Oh,
Sword.
It was Gold Sword.
Wow. Well, Helmasaur is kind of like a crab, and crab is definitely best served with butter, so that's understandable. All right, Bentisi's going to have a pretty quick Eastern here. I believe this is his first time entering it. Has boots. But the only way you could hope for this to go any faster would be to also have silvers. But that's just being greedy, if you ask me.
Yeah, with normal bow, you've got more than what you need to get through here.
Meanwhile, Febreze Ninja entering the Village of Outcasts area for the first time. Happily picks up the mirror in the C-shaped house. Most likely we'll be taking a dive into the Thieves Town area. We still have quite a few items at large, Taj. We're still looking for the Fire Rod.
We're still looking for the mitts.
Yep. And potentially we're looking for... well, we also need Hookshot, but we're potentially looking for Quake also. We have not seen, since we don't have the mitts, we've not seen the Misery Mire area, so we don't know what exactly that requires.
And who knows, we might need to get the book in order to get any of those items to get through a desert first.
Very true. Mitts could be Medora locked.
Leslie Pro checking out those glove strengths. Doesn't quite have mitts yet.
I just assumed that those dark rocks were super interesting. Just wanted to take an extra look.
So P-Train with bow and hammer in hand, gonna check out Pod now.
Yeah, we're going to want to keep our eye on the upper right corner of your screen because P-Train has got that Pendant of Courage, the green pendant that Bentisi did not have when he was through this area. So if something of relevance is on Sahasrahla himself, it could be a really game-swinging moment, so we'll have to see. Most likely P-Train will be mirroring quite shortly to check that item.
Yeah, most people find it prudent to check that on the way to picking up Kiki here.
Yep, and that appears to be the case, so we'll have to see. What do you got for us, Sahasrahla?
Little bit of love.
Wow. So the man had a quarter of a severed heart in his garage, and he also had one on his possession. That's just weird.
Well, where's the other half?
Scattered across Hyrule. I just
Wonder
work
if
here,
Regina
man.
has one.
It's an old man conspiracy. Actually, wait. What did the old man have? Did he have a piece of heart too? Because that would really freak me out.
I think he just had a red or blue rupee.
So that was his bribe money. That was his hush money. I see how it is.
Ah. So it's still the old man conspiracy.
It is. There's not a lot of old man sprites in this game, but the few that are out there are working together.
I actually think there's only 2.
Well, there's Sahasrahla and Nagina do share the same sprite.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
If one of the runners had chosen to use the old man sprite, it would be like Illuminati levels of conspiracy. I wouldn't be able to handle it. Speaking of not being able to handle it, Bentizi is going to be entering the section of Eastern Palace that we have not seen yet from either of our runners. I believe Armos has an item. I could be wrong, though. I often lie and tell untruths.
I haven't been paying attention enough to determine one way or the other.
Well, thanks for not blindly assuming I'm a liar, Taj. It means a lot to me. A very well done, executed Armos fight, and he is rewarded by a single arrow, proving once again that I would never lie to anybody about anything ever.
Now, the question is, where do you go from here?
Yeah, this is a tough choice. Can't get into Ice Palace, don't have the mitts. Can't get into the Misery Mire area, don't have mitts. You got tough choices like front of Swamp Palace without hook shots, and a few of the overworld locations I believe that Bentizi has left.
Now, he hasn't gone for the bonk rocks next to the Sanctuary, because we know the Cane of Samaria is there, thanks to Febreze Ninja.
Yeah, that's correct. Now, I don't know if he's hoping to tie those in with perhaps the mitts, so he doesn't have to go to the Dark World to check the King's Tomb. But it is possible to get access to the King's Tomb with just mirror and boots.
And he does have access to that now, so that wouldn't be too far out of the realm of possibility for him.
No, but again, maybe he's just trying to avoid having to go all the way back there via the Dark World. It's hard to tell. It looks like he's going to be checking Cave 45 here, south of Haunted Grove. But first he says, I gotta bonk me on this bush. Meanwhile, when the top of your screen, we got Leslie Pro and P-Train both having a good time in the Palace of Darkness. Unfortunately does Leslie Pro still not have the bow?
I don't think so. Oh wait, maybe Leslie Pro does, because they have 26 arrows. It's unlikely to actually get to that kind of an amount. We know that the singular arrow is on Armos.
Yeah, I think the tracker did just update it, yep. No, it's alright. It's difficult keeping track of 4 different screens commentating and tracking. Heck, sometimes I forget where villages are and aren't in the boundaries that are laid out in the Hyrule, zoning board.
Yeah, I know, we just went over this. Hence
I
why
know.
I like the cartographers so much.
Meanwhile, Febreze Ninja, utilizing that Cane of Brina, a very effective item for fighting blind in case blind gets away from you. Again, being able to properly utilize all the tools available to you is definitely an important skill in this game. And important skills, P-Train with the double bomb hammer yump. Very well, very nicely done.
Leslie Pro opting to not go for the hammer jump quite yet. Might just go through the dark maze normally in a little bit. Meanwhile,
Yeah,
we
it's
are going to
definitely
go
not a
ahead and
free
check
trick.
out the other old man here.
Yep, we'll see if this old man has any sort of heart item. I'm going to be a little upset, Taj, I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, it's starting to get a little freaky here.
Yeah, look at him hiding in the corner there doing that weird dance.
Oh, it's a
Oh my
full
God.
one! Oh no!
He was the ringleader! He had an entire heart piece, it wasn't even a quarter! Run away, Bentizi. See, Bentizi, he knew it.
He went straight to church. He has to get this taken care of, man.
Yeah, call the Hyrule cops, good lord. Alright, so Bentizi is going... Alright, he is opting to do the bonk rock check here, so he'll be picking up his Cane of Samaria, being the the second of our 4 featured runners to have possession of the Canis Maria.
And yet again, we're asked the question, where do we go from here?
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is all this really does is make him wish he had the mitts even more. Because yeah, we're still missing hookshot, mitts, and fire rod for this seed. Minimum. There could be other things required too.
I guess Bentisi didn't quite check Lumberjack yet, so he's getting that out of the way right now. I missed what Febreze Ninja found there in the King's Tomb.
As did I. But I'm not seeing a fire rod, mitts, or a hookshot lit up. So those would be the key items that we're looking for. So yeah, Febreze will be following a very nice laid out path here. Doing Zora with Catfish with a mirror. Very nice thought out play. Meanwhile, P-Train's showing us the hammer out cutscene pose. Very classy. I rate that at 8 out of 10. All he needed was a pair of parachute pants, and it would have been, in fact, hammer time.
Someone needs to get on making that sprite.
I would play nothing else. It would be funny every time. Alright. Pretty nice turtle strats there from P-Train. They got a little away from him, but he was going for it.
And now we'll get to see Leslie Pro go through the same bit. And Bentisi
so nice
heading...
Yeah. I was gonna say, it's just so nice having Tempered Sword going through these turtle rooms.
Yeah, it's nice when you can kill them with just a singular slash rather than having to worry about spinning or hammering them.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, P-Train doing a pretty good job with Helmasaur here. With Blue Mail and Tempered, pretty straightforward fight.
Now you see him wait for that last hammer hit. He was actually waiting for Helmasaur to start spewing some fireballs, because as you destroy the mask, any fireballs that are spawned are instantly disappeared.
Yeah, very nice bit of tech there. Definitely showing off knowledge of how this game works. Also, Leslie Pro got a really nice door dash there into the Helmasaur room.
That's not an easy one to do.
Alright, so 2 of our runners finishing off Helmasaur there. Meanwhile, Bentisi going into Skull Woods, sans the fire rod, just hoping to find something.
I think our other runners have gone through there, and we don't find anything of worth in there.
That is correct. But he's still hoping, Taj. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I think out of all the stuff that we know, I think our next progression has to be in Swamp Palace.
Yeah, the play is looking more and more likely to bear fruit. And hook shotless front of Swamp Palace play always just feels dirty.
Nonetheless, we got Leslie Pro and P-Train finishing up the Palace of Darkness to Eastern combination, while Febreze Ninja is heading up Tower of Hera. We'll be picking up that green pendant, we hope.
Yep, we're definitely seeing our runners covering areas that each other have already covered. It'll feel like Febreze Ninja is a little behind these other runners. It might be by a little bit, but Febreze Ninja did spend time going to other areas and has already been in pod. And has been enjoying those boots in Canis Maria. Although they haven't really given too much progression, unfortunately. So yeah, at this point, as you mentioned, it's looking more and more likely that either the mitts or perhaps the hook shot are in the front of Swamp Palace.
Or the book.
Or the book. Very true. Oh wow, Febreze Ninja says, green pendant, don't want it. I'm out of here. Peace out, y'all.
Well, he may have found just that the second item was there, got both the hints, got everything he really wanted out of the dungeon. So
yep. Definitely a viable strat. It does take a lot of time to... Well, not a lot of time, but it definitely takes time to make that kill and go and do the turn-in, so... Alright, I think Bentisi might have came to the same conclusion that you did, Taj, and is heading over toward the Swamp Palace sans the hook shot. Yeah, that does appear to be the case.
You gotta go drain it first in the light world, always adding this little bit of tension to getting into the dungeon proper. That's a lot of the reason why people don't like going to Swamp Palace is because of all this extra setup you gotta do just to get in there.
And Ben not mashing the Y button fast enough to actually clear those blocks, unfortunately. But yeah, I think between all the other runners, I can't think of an area that we haven't been to that isn't in Swamp Palace. So I'll be curious to see what we find here. Are you sticking with your Book of Medora bet, Taj?
I'm gonna stick with the Book of Medora bet.
All right. All right. So a map needs fire. So we already knew that Terra Basement had a non-item, and that's just more confirmation. Hints this seed have been not super helpful.
Yeah, they haven't really narrowed down any locations. Even the one that actually had a specific item in Palace of Darkness attributed to it, we were there already. And there's our hook shot in the very front of Swamp.
Oh, man. You know, in a huge qualifier race like this with 115 people, when you find an item like that in a place like this, in the back of your mind, you've got to be thinking, oh, man, somebody made this wacky play and is ahead of me. Definitely a stressful moment for a runner.
I'm not sure how far ahead you could really be, though, because that doesn't really unlock too much in terms of the overworld movement.
Yeah, I guess it depends on if, because it could be very likely that there is there could be another progression item behind Hookshot Lock Swamp here in the back. It's hard to tell.
I think there has to be.
Yeah, I think you're correct, because Hookshot doesn't unlock much else that isn't already in this Soaking Wet dungeon. It's filled with both water and value, Taj. But mostly water. See, that one got you, but the cartography joke was nothing? You're a tough nut to crack, my friend.
And Leslie Pro is following right behind Benteezy here, opting to go into Swamp.
Yeah, this is pretty huge. I believe Leslie has a few locations left that Ben has already checked, but perhaps considering where the logic is sending Leslie Pro and saying, all right, it's time to make the hook shotless swamp play, Leslie Pro will be rewarded for this. See, these runners have a lot more restraint than I do. I would have had at least 1 or 2 rage slashes to give that hookshot chest right there.
Well, you don't got time to dilly-dally on something like this.
I don't know. There was time spent dilly-dallying on that sweet, unnecessary hammer dash in Swamp. I approve. Thumbs up. A+.
Well, Benteezy is trying to figure out the back end of Swamp here before committing to the left side. We haven't seen any hint and reference it yet, so it could have something of value over there. We find the big key in the waterlog chests back there. And just a red boomerang in the waterfall.
Oh, the crappiest boomerang. Yeah, I have a feeling that Ben is definitely going to have to go back and check that chest if he doesn't find anything good in here that's hookshot locked.
Actually, we could find the fire rod here, which would open up the back of Skull Woods, and maybe that unlocks something.
The Book of Medora is still a live progression item as well.
Yeah. A lot of weird little things could happen here in a moment.
Ooh, Ben showing off part of... Oh, look at that. Nice recovery. Doing the fast dash quick kill on those puffs there.
That is honestly one of the hardest fast kills to do. It's possible to do it without the puff spinning afterward, but the timing for that is so tight to do.
Yeah, it requires a lot of button presses on your controller and a lot of precision. Definitely something, if you ever see anybody doing that in a race, you can be very assured that they have practiced that quite a bit.
So now we gotta dip back into Swamp here.
Yep. I just want you to know that if it's the book, I'm going to be a little mad at you.
That's fair.
A lot of fairness in the seed today. I like it.
I don't think our runners would agree.
Yeah, hookshot in Swamp Palace, not necessarily fair. All right, keep your eyes on the bottom left of the screen, guys, because we might be seeing an important item here in this chest, or I will be very confused. Oh, that's right, he didn't do left side. Can't say I blame him for going straight to the back. Once you find that hook shot, you would assume that the item that you're looking for is probably hook shot luck.
Well, it does seem to have a higher density of items back there, so if you're only looking for a couple of things, or even just one, it can often be worthwhile to head for the back first. And there's the miss. Am I off the hook?
I can't be mad at you, man.
All right.
But it wasn't the book, so yes.
I just can't win, can I?
So yeah, the Swamp Palace definitely filled with value. Bent Easy definitely throwing us for a loop by checking the chest later on the route, but he's saying I'm this late into Swamp, I'm not going to leave something else behind in here, so doing the full clear. Meanwhile, Febreze Ninja doing the same trick you mentioned before about making fireballs disappear from Helmasaur. So really, all four of our runners showing off some pretty good Helmasaur tech.
We got Leslie Pro heading back into Swamp here. Gonna get the mitts at the very least, and hopefully whatever Bentisi finds here on the left.
Yeah, we do have chat on your side, Taj, correctly pointing out that book could still technically lead to a progression item if something is on Bombos or Ether Tablet. Left side Swamp gives nothing. Ben not checking the last chest because he knows it contains the compass, so he says, I'm out of there.
And with those mitts in hand, there's a lot of the world that just opened up. We got a couple of overworld checks, we got the dark world side of Death Mountain, as well as Ice Palace.
Yeah, I'm curious to see, with the smorgasbord of options available to him, we'll see where he decides to go. It's looking like perhaps Ice Palace. I could also see fluting to the mire area quick just to check and see what your medallion is, so you know whether or not you're in go mode if you find something like a fire rod.
Really wanted to get those 5 rupees off the floating island there. And it's
I don't
heading
think
straight to Mire.
I don't think he checked it earlier, so he's like, all right, it's never going to be easier to check than right now. So yeah, it looks like Ben is doing the mire check I mentioned.
Now, he can fully clear this dungeon now that he's here, so it's probably in his best interest to go ahead and do so.
All right,
as
that
well as
was
knock out
Bombos.
Desert.
Yeah, that was Bombos, so we do have all the required medallions for this game. So at this point, we are just looking for, I believe, Fire Rod, Taj.
Yeah, that's the only thing we really need.
And already we've got chat helping us out with the pedestal is dead comments. Yes, Fire Rod cannot be on pedestal because you need the Fire Rod to kill Trinex, and Trinex is a pendant, so rip.
Leslie Pro checking that chest that holds the compass in Swamp, not quite keeping track of the items available.
Well, Leslie hasn't opened the big key chest quite yet. So I don't believe Leslie knew whether or not that had an item or not.
Yeah, I guess so, since they're backtracking over to the big chest here.
Meanwhile, we got P-Train making that swamp play. Oh, Bent Easy forgetting that he does not have... poor guy, forgot he doesn't have the big key for the big key chest in Desert.
And there it is on the torch.
It would have been funny if that had still had been broken big key hints and it said that the big key desert is in the desert.
Yeah, just to rub salt in the wound there.
Yeah, exactly. But not everyone is a jerk like me, so.
Well, Rando does try to be fair.
That's true. We've espoused the virtues of fairness constantly during this broadcast. I don't think we would ever lie to you guys. All right, so not a whole lot exciting so far in desert.
We've seen one of the items so far. We're looking for one more.
Compass does not count. Meanwhile, Leslie Pro picking up that Cane of Samaria. Very nice. Wow, nothing feels bad or worse than the old map compass right side of desert location.
At least now we know where the item is.
It's on the cold, dead corpse of the last of the land moles.
Interesting how it's always the last one.
Yeah, that'd be some pretty neat coding if they could make the item drop early from one of the land mo.
And then somehow be able to use it on the other ones.
Yeah, like what if Fire Rod is on the land mo? I mean, I guess you've got, butter swords, so, what else do you want? I guess silvers would make it faster.
Nonetheless, we're more than well equipped for this fight.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, useful items to have for land mo include Fire Rod, silvers, Ice Rod works in a pinch, Butter Sword or Tempered is great.
Basically not Master Sword.
Ah, yes. Or Fighter Sword. Yeah, if you ever want to have a bad time, try to kill the land mo with just a hammer. Oh, and what?
And there it is.
Wow, so the Fire Rod on the land mo, if only it had dropped from the first one, he could have used it during the fight.
If only.
But regardless, Benteezy's pretty happy, because I'm pretty sure that is go mode, my friend.
Just a couple more dungeons to clear out here.
Yeah, Ben will enter Mire.
He's using the flute there to set up the spooky action glitch that we'll see later on in Mire.
I'm looking forward to going to Spooky Action Glitch School when Ben gets to this portion of the sea, Taj.
Well, if you saw, he did pick up the rock from below, which is actually an important part of the setup.
Very nice. I'm taking notes here.
Oh, are we going to go into this right now? Because I can go.
Well, actually, I need anything to distract me from the fact that Leslie Pro is about to crack open the case of the old man's severed heart ring.
Well, we better pay attention to that real quick.
God, why?
There it is. Anyway, so to go into detail about the spooky action glitch, for some reason, the Fire Rod has a splash damage effect that is added to wherever the shot lands, and that is based off of an altitude variable that is applied to anything that Link creates. Now, there's 5 slots that the game keeps track of, and for some reason the duck also uses these. And when we use the duck, or rather land from the duck, it's flying away, and we go under the rock to be able to set this altitude to a certain value. And that value is the displacement from the rod shot that the splash damage takes. And this can travel through walls, through doors, through anything. And we use that in the basement in order to hit the switch on the other side of a bombable wall.
Thus saving quite a bit of time.
I think it's somewhere around 10 seconds.
Well, if you're pushing your energy time low, 10 seconds can be quite a bit. Yeah, it's a very thoughtful explanation, Taj. Thank you. I feel like I learned something today. And that's that Rando is fair. Very fair.
If nothing else.
Meanwhile, we didn't point it out because you were in the middle of your wonderful explanation, but an unnecessary ice rod was picked up in Mire. And notably for routing purposes, Leslie Pro did choose to enter Mire first instead of Desert, which is a pretty reasonable play. But unfortunately, that will mean that Leslie Pro will most likely full clear this dungeon looking for that Fire Rod.
Barring, hopefully, the 2 Firelock chests on the left side, since we did get a hint for that earlier in the race.
Yeah, I believe the hint was like a map and some bombs.
Yeah, some cryptography instrument and some bombs.
Haha, callback's nice. So if it could be hard to keep track of the hints here, but if you had and you found the ice rod, you would have known that that was item 1 and item 2 was bombs on the left side. So you'll know to just keep looking for that big key at that point. But that can be a lot to keep track of in a race, especially when you're nervous and it's a qualifier.
Actually, there's a little bit of extra stuff that we got to do with the spooky action glitch here. Now, I mentioned before that there were 5 slots, and the bird is actually in one of them. Uh-oh, Benteezy just got rid of the value that he had saved there, so we're not actually going to see the spooky action glitch from Benteezy here.
So what exactly went wrong there that he lost the value?
He placed a Samaria block, because that clears whatever altitude value you had set in the first slot. What he needed to do was either kick up some dust or send off a sword beam or anything, really, and then place the block down while that other item was still on screen.
Okay, so that somehow saves that altitude variable then?
Yes, it does. But for some reason, the Cane of Samaria, the Powder, the Boomerang, those all set whatever altitude you had saved in that first slot to 0.
Thus eating the spooky action glitch.
Precisely.
Oh, very interesting. So what I'm really getting from this is that Link to the Past is a super well-coded game.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's the most brokenly stable game I know.
Which is actually no mean feat. Speaking of no mean feats, we've got a Benteezy opted to use the cape and butter to finish off Argus here. Doesn't have quite the magic to get it all done, but that's all right.
Got plenty of arrows to finish off the big eyeball here.
Oh yeah. Still just a 1 lightning cycle, I believe that was. And I believe I called him Argus. That is actually Vitreous. Sorry.
I wasn't going to say anything.
You should probably call me on that. See, in my mind, they both have like circular objects around them, floating around, causing trubs.
As well as being main body of a large eyeball and then some other small orbs.
See, so, thank you. You're on my side.
Lots and lots of little eyes and big eyes in this game.
I see what you mean. Crickets.
Appropriately.
All right, so Benteezy does have 1 crystal dungeon left, and that is Skull Woods.
We've already seen the front of this dungeon cleared, so we just got to go through the back. Not that he was going to clear out anything in the front anyway, since he's got all he needs anyway, with just the fire rod.
Yeah, the small key that you need to clear the dungeon is on the way, so... But you're technically not wrong. He is not going to the front. And he did clear the... he did already do it.
We try to not lie.
Yeah, we try to be fair, very fair.
All right, now I got Leslie Pro going against Vitreous here.
Go with damage boost strats.
Getting rocked by the little eyes a little bit.
Oh god!
More than a little bit. Uh-oh. I think there's a fairy in a bottle that they picked up in Paradox Cave, so this is okay for now.
Yeah, and Leslie Pro probably knew where the margins there were. In fact, might have opted to do this and perhaps fill up the bottle with a potion later and thought this was a good way to clear it out.
Getting a few more lightning cycles out of Vidi, though, which is a bit costly in terms of time.
It's just a map from Vitreous. I mean, I guess we knew that where the items were, so it was either that or some keys. Meanwhile, we got Benteezy on his 7th crystal boss here.
Going against probably one of the more annoying bosses, Mothula, but gets it done fairly quickly.
Yeah, Butter / Tempered Sword makes that fight with boots on top of it, makes that fight a pretty straightforward affair.
But it can turn ugly pretty quickly, regardless.
Oh yeah, that fight can go off the rails pretty quick. Especially in Randomizer, where you may find yourself under-equipped for a fight such as that. Trying to hammer Mothula with green tunic and like 4 hearts is never a good time.
Speaking of which, look forward to that in the upcoming inverted races that will be part of this tournament later, I'm sure.
Yep.
In any case, Bentizi has all 7 crystals and is on his way up to Ganon's tower. But first, we're going to get Deadrock locked.
Yeah, because why not, right?
We've got to give Leslie Pro some time to catch up here.
Yeah, many players of this game might agree that that particular screen is one of the most annoying screens in the game. You've got 2 major sources of randomization and time loss in the boulders and the dead rocks, and they both happen to be
work together.
Yeah, it's crazy how often that seems to happen. All right. Meanwhile, we've got P-Train has finished up Desert, and importantly, did go into Desert before Meyer. So we'll hopefully be checking less chests.
And
so we see Leslie Pro having
behind.
Yep. Yeah, we saw Leslie Pro having to check the right side of Desert, looking for the fire rod. Meanwhile, we've got Bentizi heading over to Ganon's tower.
Did you see a bunch of numbers there in chat? I think I saw a bunch of numbers in chat.
I think I did too. I'd assume it's some sort of communication method, like they're trying to count the number of pixels somewhere. That has to be a Taj. I don't think it could be anything else.
You know, I've heard that there are a certain number of tiles that make up the patterns in those flying tile rooms.
that has to be it. They're guessing which tile is going to be the first one to hit the runner that they don't block.
Ah, there we go.
Yep, that's got to be it. Or more importantly, they are guessing there are 22 chests in Ganon's tower, or rather 22 locations that the big key can be. And I believe chat was attempting to lay claim to one of those locations.
Now, we've already seen one with a regular red rupee on the torch. And we're heading up to the Stalfos room first, which is a little unconventional in terms of routing. A lot of people do try to go for the 2 chests on the right hand first before heading up here.
He might be doing modified Dark Magician strats, perhaps? We'll see if he mirrors out of here.
I think he's going to, because he's not killing those Stalfos.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of people like this route, actually myself included. I feel like if you're doing pretty well in a race, this is a pretty consistent way to hit a lot of the chests early. And it protects you against the big key being... see, if you had gone just straight right, you would have gotten that big key right away. But by going left and then right, Bentizi kind of protected himself from the 2 more common starts, I think. So he loses a little time checking that left side, but that's all right.
Now, if you had gone to the right first, you would still want to go to the left for a little bit to at least pick up at least 1 small key, because you do need 2 to climb the upper portions of the tower, and there's only 1 that's guaranteed on the Helmasaurs up near the top.
Yep, that is definitely one of those mistakes that I feel like every rando player will make at least once and then hopefully never do again, because that always feels awful.
You make your way through what we call the gauntlet, and a few rooms after, and then you realize, I don't have enough keys!
Sometimes the rando will bail you out with its small key placement, but
don't count on it.
As you mentioned, yep, not guaranteed. Alright, so we got both P-Train and Febreze Ninja pretty close to the respective bosses of the dungeons they're in. Meanwhile, Leslie Pro on the way to boss number 7. And it looks like Bentizi didn't have too much trouble with that red Stalfos room there.
Yeah, these 2nd and 3rd rooms of the gauntlet are often some of the most RNG you gotta face in the Ganon's Tower section here.
Yep, although there is definitely movement and strategies you can employ to really minimize that. And you can see Bentizi definitely taking advantage of some well-practiced movement and the later portions of that gauntlet, really just kind of crushing those enemies.
This is one of the rod shots, so it's a little bit less matches he's got to work with for later, but still gets through Landmo 2 just fine.
See, I interpreted that as him taunting the Landmo with the item that he took off the corpse of his brothers earlier in the run. So he was just showing off with it.
There's been a subtle theme of murder in this run.
Speaking of which, Todd, you want to come over later this weekend, watch the game?
Which one?
It doesn't matter. Also, eat this bowl of chips that is definitely not poison.
Definitely not poison. You can guarantee that for me.
Yeah, would I lie to you?
Well, you haven't so far.
That's true. Very fair. All right, it's Benteezy playing with the margins of his magic meter, but does have just enough to complete that section. In fact, I think he had a lantern throw or two to spare there.
Yeah, he had one or two, and he seems to know exactly where his magic refills are for this upper portion, given that they aren't changed from the original game.
Leslie Pro having a pretty decent time with Mothula there. Is worth pointing out that Tempered and Butter Sword actually do more damage to Mothula than a Fire Rod shot. So sometimes the Fire Rod can be useful to get hits in where the sword doesn't have reach for, though.
Or to just knock it outside of the spikes that it loves to hang around.
Yeah, exactly.
So now that Leslie Pro is done with all 7 of the dungeons, we'll now be heading up towards Ganon's tower.
Yep, that is correct.
And Benteezy heading in toward the second wizard fight. This time he brings some friends.
Yep. Bust out your protractors, kids. It's time for Aghanim 2. Not the greatest setup there. Almost got the double.
Got one out of that one. That was a iffy placement, but he got one of them out of that.
But one of the hardest things about this fight, in my opinion, is knowing when to commit to a sword spin versus a sword slash in terms of the kind of the geometry of how the clones line up. This is definitely a fight that can end up costing a lot more time than you would like, just based off of how the clones line up.
It's definitely one of the hardest to optimize, especially when the main clone does not cooperate and starts shooting blue balls at you.
Oh yeah. And depending on the length of teleports, the clones can get really out of sync with the main body, making the timing of hits even harder. So,
well, interestingly, we find the Quake medallion in the Super Bunny Cave on Leslie Pro up there.
Yeah, I wonder if Leslie Pro was digging for silver arrows, maybe, or perhaps half magic. Maybe looking for just one more safety. No need to activate Turtle Rock, even though it might be a little faster than doing Super Bunny Cave, so maybe decide to make that trade-off in a small amount of time to grab 2 more chests. Meanwhile, we've got Benteezy in the bottom left corner of your screen there, fighting Ganon, already well past the first phase.
Already well past the second phase.
Oh yeah, very true. Butter Sword does make pretty quick work of Ganon.
Now, he does not have the silver arrow, so he will have to do this silver-less, which means getting off some spins on the last cycle right before Ganon decides to warp away. And they were in Ganon's tower.
Oh wow! All right, must have been further left than we saw Ben go.
Or in the chest by the Helmosaurus, because he opened neither of those.
No, very true. Very true. Yeah, he had a chance to be potentially rewarded with his red Stalfos room checks, but that did not pay off. Meanwhile, Leslie Pro did go right side GT first, so we'll gain a little bit of time over where Ben was there. But of our on-screen racers, Benteezy, short of several catastrophic fails on Ganon here, has definitely got this in the can.
And with that, it looks like Benteezy is finished with Ganon, and finishes in 11th place with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 29 minutes, and 12 seconds.
Yeah, bust out your GGs in chat for Ben there. That was definitely a seed that had a few key moments in it. Any runner that chose to go into hookshotless swamp first definitely had some payoff there.
Especially considering that we found not only the hook, but the mitts, opening up the last portions of the seed there.
Yeah, I think what matters the most is that ultimately there was no book found. Just saying. Speaking of just saying, we'll see if we can't get our lead racer of the on-screen racers, Bentisi, in here for an interview.
As we watch through Leslie Pro and P-Train go through Ganon's Tower, and Febreze Ninja almost done with Meyer here.
Yeah, you could see some more gauntlet techniques from Leslie Pro there. That red Stalfos room can be done pretty quickly with Fire Rod if the RNG cooperates a little bit. So, all right, looks like we are joined in the interview room here by Bentisi. Bentisi, congratulations on your first place victory of our restreamed runners and your 11th place victory overall.
Hello, thank you.
So I gotta ask you, how were you feeling when you were heading into Swamp, knowing that pretty much something had to be there? Minus a few other locations.
I was really nervous because there was an item in Hera and I fell.
Yeah.
I didn't get it. And like I had spent the 5 minutes right before it cleaning up all the locations that I could have checked before Aghanim to make sure that the Aghanim was actually required. So I did all the stuff that you could have fake flipper to. I did Agina, I did all that nonsense and didn't get anything. So I was like, wow, I saved all the time not doing all that, and then I wasted all the time doing it.
Well, I wouldn't say you wasted it on the return trip, because at that point you did have the boots, which would have sped up any earlier checks that people had done.
Yeah, that's true. I also had the rupees for Zora, so rupees were pretty scarce early on, so if you fake flip right there, you might have not had them. But yeah, I learned something from Amazing Ampharos like 2 tournaments ago, that if you decide not to do something, you can't really go back on that 10 minutes later, because the people that did decide to do it have already been reaping the rewards for 10 minutes. So you have to just pretty much act as if that is not the thing. So I chose to go Swamp instead of Green Pendant. And then the hint in Swamp was like, oh, by the way, there's nothing in Hera Basement, so if you hadn't fell,
yeah,
you would have the item. And I was like, oh, thank you.
And that was actually my next question. I was like, how relieved did you feel reading that telepathic tile in Swamp? That had to have been a big, oh, thank God moment.
It made it worse. Because I could have finished the dungeon if I hadn't fell. But yeah, I'm glad I started playing Rando back in like the first tournament days, like the V19 days. So I'm still one of those people that's like crystals first and then do other stuff. So I'm glad I went straight to Desert and got the Fire Rod. It let me skip like Smiths and Dark World Death Mountain and all that stuff. And the people that placed ahead of me are definitely people that practice way more than me, so I'm not too upset about that. But I'm happy I didn't do too poorly.
Yeah, you were the first of our runners to pull the trigger on that Aga play, I believe. And that paid off very well for you, finding the gloves right there on the pyramid.
I went into Hyrule Castle at like 10 minutes into the seed. I skipped. I was like, I'm gonna go into Hyrule Castle, and either I'm gonna find the glove in one of these chests, or I'm going to do Aghanim. That's what's happening here. Because I knew, like, without a glove and without flippers, like even Zora is not in logic, which is usually the one square that like kind of makes you like, I don't really want to gamble that. But yeah, it's like 2 swords, cape, lamp. That was like the first 4 items. I was like, this has to be it.
Definitely pointing you in that direction. Well, it did pay off for you. You took those gloves, went straight to back of the escape, and then moved on to your Dark World checks.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there was anything like particularly annoying about the seed. I think it was just like hookshot and swamp. Like that was
yeah, whenever hook shots in Swamp, you always feel like you got maybe just a little bit robbed.
Yeah. This was my first race of the tournament. I was told after I finished that it's not surprising that Elminster whooped us all by that much time, because apparently he was kind of behind in the standings and needed to make a gamble to stay alive in the tournament. This being his last race, so I don't feel too bad about losing.
Yeah, hookshotless swamp early is not a. That's definitely a gamble.
I don't feel too bad about losing by 7 minutes to that.
Oh, nice triple by P-Train there in the upper right corner of your screen. Very nice.
Zero, Farami, and Salty Fry literally finished within like 3 seconds of each other as I was entering Ganon's and the Ganon fight. So I was like, no, stop finishing, please.
Are you one of those runners that prefers to keep the race window closed once you enter, once you get further into GT, or do you like to have that knowledge?
No, I don't. I left it open, but I didn't look at it. I almost never look at it. But I do like to be aware of what's happening. I think it's more heartbreaking for me to feel like I'm playing well and then open the race seed and see 20 people have finished, than to just know where I am throughout my run.
Nice.
So
well, with an 11th place finish, you're doing a pretty good for your first race in the qualifiers here. You got any alternate strategies or anything like that planned for the future, or is it all very hush hush?
As far as the qualifiers go, I'm just gonna try to play races when I can when I'm not in school. I normally don't lose in these rando tournaments until whatever like the top 50 or 60 groups are, because I always get gem in my group. So
that's a tough one.
Maybe this tournament I'll make it far again and not get gem. That would be fantastic.
Well, I believe we get two runners to a move on once you get to the group stage at each group. So maybe you got a chance even if you get Ben in your group, or Gem, excuse me.
You guys need to spread the word.
It's a 100% chance of Ben getting Ben in his group, I think.
You guys need to spread the word for me and tell everyone that I love inverted and retro, so that nobody picks that against me. All right? Thanks, guys.
Yeah, the meta games for the modes is definitely going to be interesting.
Spread the word. Bentizi loves retro and inverted, and especially Randomizer. There you go.
All right. Well, any final thoughts from you, Ben, before we move on to the next runner here?
GG's to everybody, and hope it was fun to watch at least.
Excellent. Well, thanks again for the show, Ben, and good luck to you and the rest of your qualifier matches.
Thank you.
And as we were talking to Ben, we have Leslie Pro, who finished 59th place with an SRL time of 1 hour, 36 minutes, and 50 seconds. We're going to see if we can get Leslie up in here to interview. As P-Train is finishing up right about now.
Yeah, definitely some pretty tight execution from both of our runners there toward the end. Definitely showing off some nice gauntlet play, some decent Ganon fights as well. Leslie Pro, GG. Congratulations on your finish. You did finish second place of the runners on the restream. How do you feel about that seed?
That seed was definitely a tough one, especially the front half of it forcing a low resource AGA 1 con. I can see where a number of runners would get tied up there. And me, about, I'd say, 6 months, a year ago, that would have tied me up real bad.
Yeah, there were definitely not a lot of hearts available. I think we were watching you runners, and quite a few of you were in different locations in the world checking, and there were still only about 5 hearts between everybody about a half an hour in. So, yeah, you make a good point about the low resource there.
We're also joined here by a P-Train, who finished 63rd with an official time of 1 hour, 37 minutes, and 49 seconds.
Yeah, so congratulations on your finish, P-Train.
Thank you.
So Leslie Pro was just talking about the beginning of the seed being a little low resource and just being kind of a jerk. Any thoughts about the early portion of this seed?
Yeah, this was one of the more peculiar openings I've ever seen. I actually was getting a little aggravated at myself because when I skipped Agina to do AGA, And I was like, well, shoot, like, because I was 2 items away from Dark World access. But I was like, I'm not going to be able to do anything once I kill Aga because I don't have the Moon Pearl. Moon Pearl is probably in Agina's. So I was just like, well, I'll just go ahead and do this anyway, see what's on the pyramid. And then to find the glove, I was like, oh, okay, this is weird. Which led to Moon Pearl in the sewers chest. So I was just like, all right, I've never seen that before in my life.
I actually went about that a different way. I went in the front way and I saw Moon Pearl there, and I'm like, well, still got to go up, but at least now I can feel better about dying to Ball and Chain Guard, because that was sad.
Well, it was interesting because I think P-Train was the first of our runners to go through Escape, but decided to not hit the chest in the dark, which was available at the time. And when we saw, I think, Benteezy go and pick up that chest, and we saw it was the pro, we were thinking, oh no, we're not going to see P-Train go for that for a while, but then you were luckily bailed out by the gloves on the pyramid.
Yeah, honestly, I completely forgot about the Dark Chest and Escape. My mind was thinking, oh, well, I got the map instead of the small key. So my brain was telling me that I needed the key to get to it, which I'm now realizing was wrong.
Well, something for next time.
Yeah, definitely. Leslie, Pro, I do have a question for you. After finishing up the pod Eastern combo, you ended up making what turned out to be a pretty smart play is to going into Swamp without the hook shot, which ultimately everyone had to do. You did a little bit sooner than perhaps some of your other competitors. You had a few other locations to check. Was that an intentional choice, or were you like, all right, is it going to be one of those seeds? Like, what were your thoughts going into that?
I thought it's going to that. Well, I was debating on whether to do the north of pyramid checks involving Bonk Rocks, Haunted Ledge, King's Tomb, which Bonk Rocks we did need at some point. But, as it turned out, we did have to make that turn, because as soon as I went in, I'm thinking to myself, oh no, I'm making the wrong decision, aren't I? And I'm like, well, too late, committed. It happened to work out in my favor this time. But had the hook shot been in those 3 checks, it would have backfired on me big time.
Yeah, that is the nature of rando, unfortunately.
Yeah, I wasn't it's kind of weird. Like, so Sunday was my worst seed. I finished 64th. This seed, I finished 63rd, but I feel much better about my performance. So I don't know. It kind of speaks to the planning that went behind this qualifier scoring method, because I don't know. Like, I'm really glad that this was a decent race for myself, because I don't know. I was really worried about my score after Sunday. So I felt a lot of pressure going into this race. So it's weird that I oddly feel really, really good about 63rd place.
Well, part of that may just come from the size of the race. I imagine that this race is a little bit larger than the one that was on Sunday.
I haven't been around for any of the qualifiers on the weekends because I'm always working, but from what I read in IRC, this was the biggest field yet.
Yeah, I think this is one of the bigger ones. Don't quote me on that, though.
No, as far as I've been, I think Sunday was the largest I'd done before now, and that was 96, I think. And this one being 114, I think this has been the largest, because I think we were talking about that in IRC before doing it.
Nice. Well, and in the end, we mentioned it's not it's not specifically your position in this race. It's your position relative to the top 3 finishers. So.
Yeah. But no, I felt kind of bad. I last location hookshot, and anytime you last location an item, like, there's always going to be somebody that beats you. But all in all, like, I don't know, I felt like I had pretty good execution. I did have a death like halfway up Aga Tower, which I kind of felt like double stupid for, because at that time I was like, man, if there's, like, I thought Moon Pearl had to be in Agina, but I was like, man, if there's something like Flute or Boots or something else that unlocks a whole bunch of stuff, I'm gonna feel really dumb. So that death kind of stung, but other than Aga Tower on 4 arts, I felt like my execution was pretty good this season.
Yeah, there was definitely quite a bit of moments from all of you guys showing off some really good execution between boss fights and neat little tricks. So, yeah, sorry, Leslie Pro, didn't mean to interrupt you there.
It's all good. It's all good. But yeah, my execution at points was looking really good. Like, prior to the race, I was practicing a few different things. Like I was practicing against Mothula on the practice ROM because I figured, well, let's at least get this fight down. And while that would have been a death on the practice ROM, it actually worked out pretty well. So I'll take it.
Ironically, I practiced like all of the weird Ice Palace bomb jumps, and I was so ready for Ice Palace to seed. I was like, bring it, I got this. We're going to get all the chests as fast as possible. And then I never touched it. It wasn't required at all.
Same
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, depending on, I guess somebody could have made the YOLO play into Ice Palace, but I doubt a lot of people did in this particular seed.
Yeah, when I got done with Swamp with a hook shot, I was going to do Desert Palace and Mire if I was able. Then I was going to do the hook shot cave, Dark Death Mountain, and because I think I was a fire rod away from go mode. So at that point, I was going to do Ice Palace before Blacksmith Chain if it came to it, but I never had to make that decision. So I was glad. Those are like my least favorite decisions where you have like 6 locations that are all equally valuable, and then you just basically flip a coin.
Yeah, that's one thing that we brought up as soon as our runners were finishing up Swamp here, that the myths just unlocked so many locations once you got them, and all of you seem to have made the correct decision in going for the 2 crystal dungeons that immediately became available from that decision.
I can't remember. I was trying to think of this. Was there a hint that told us that there was junk in the left side of Swamp?
Not the
I
left side of
believe-
Swamp, the left side of Mire.
Okay,
Correct.
I knew about Mire.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Because I think it was like a compass and a bomb, but then I went to left side Swamp and found a compass and cache. And I was like, was I warned about this? Like, did I just completely forget about this? So, I don't know. I felt a little silly taking it.
It's not the first time that Swamp and Mire have been confused in one way or another, and it won't be the last.
No, the moist dungeons are hard to tell apart.
Yeah, they both can be pains in the rear in their own mindset. But yeah, basically I went from Swamp to the northern section that I mentioned earlier, into Mire, and after Mire I'm like, okay, if this fire rod's not in desert, I've got a number of locations to check, but thankfully the land mullahs they were holding guard to it, so I feel like I lucked out on that one.
Yeah, I'd say the best way to luck out in this seed would have been to go into a Swamp really early, but even then you would have had mitts and a whole bunch of other places to check, so I think this was just a pretty straightforward seed one way or another.
It certainly was, even with its resource challenges early. Only thing I never found was silvers. Apparently the hint said from Ganon said they were in his tower, but once I got the big key, I wasn't looking at anything else other than those chests towards the top, and that was it.
Yeah, I'm not sure we ever did find out where exactly they were.
No,
So-
we had Febreze Ninja checking the chests on the way up Ganon's tower, and we saw Ben Deasy check the Red Stalfos room, so it must have been further down left side, or perhaps right side front.
Yeah, that early big key basically nullified any chance of me thinking about right side.
All right, well, any final thoughts from you two guys about this seed or the future of more qualifier races for you?
This was my last.
Oh, is this your 5th one?
Yeah. So, and like I said, I'm really glad because for those that don't know, the way they do the equation, after once you do your 4th race, they drop your best score. And I had a 3rd place finish on Saturday that was dropped and replaced with a hot mess that was Sunday. So I was really like, man, we got to make this one count if we want to make a bracket. So yeah, I'm very happy. This was in my opinion, a very good note to end on. So I'm looking forward to keeping an eye on the scores and seeing how my score holds up as other people complete some of their other qualifiers.
Well, you get
Lucky
to
with you on that one, P-Train. As for me, this was number 3, so I still got 2 more to go. I do have to admit, routing, some of the decisions I made that could have turned out didn't, and again, that's just the whole nature of Randomizer. But all things considered, not too terrible. I mean, it could have been better. I could have not had the non-death warp deaths, but that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, I got to get in the 1v1 mindset. I've been playing super safe with the qualifiers and just kind of checking everything I can get my hands on. So, got to see how aggressive I want to be when we get to the 1v1s.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things about the tournament is the fact that you do have to kind of change your play style between the qualifiers and the groups, and not only within the groups, but between the different modes you have to play during the group stage. It's certainly going to be an interesting beast once we get down to it.
Yeah, being able to kind of correctly metagame your way through each race and qualifier is definitely an important skill to have. So, well, thanks again for the excellent show, Leslie Pro and P-Train. You guys did a great job, and we look forward to hopefully seeing more of you guys as the tournament progresses.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for the feature. Thanks for the stream. GG's, everybody, and I will catch you all next time.
GG's.
All right, so we've got Febreze Ninja down here, finishing up that Ganon fight. We are on, I believe, the last magic potion refill here. So Febreze Ninja's going to have to be careful with mana usage here.
It's kind of difficult to make sure you get both of these torches lit, especially when you're feeling you need to use the fire rod to reach each side. Ooh, knocking Ganon a little early turns him blue and kind of loses that hit.
Yeah, might have to stick with just the torch use.
Unfortunately, you can't really use the lamp while you have your sword out. You got to get rid of whatever sword charge you have if you're going to use it. So and he feels like he doesn't have enough magic. He's going to head out, go refill on potions and whatever, and come back and try again.
Yeah, Ganon is Silverless Ganon is definitely not a free fight. It requires a lot of precision movements, dodging the bats. Getting those spins in the very small time frame that you have to do so.
Now, one interesting thing that we do know is that there is a full magic on the first tier of the pull, and I wonder if he's going to take advantage of that right now.
I have a feeling that it's going to be... we're loaded with all the rupees from the seeds, so I have a feeling we're going to be seeing some magic potion refills here. Yep, and that does appear to be the case.
We've got enough money here to go ahead and get a full suite of blue potions, and hopefully that will be more than enough for what we need to finish off this fight here.
Yeah, on the plus side, we do have Buttered Sword, which means we're not in the unfortunate situation of having to do Master Sword Silverless Ganon, which made me throw up a little bit in my mouth just saying it.
Yeah, that's one of the toughest fights in the game to get done, especially if you want to do it quickly. It's something of 52 spins to complete the fight, which is quite a lot.
Yes. Is it 52? Yeah, it's what? It's 12 in the front, 12 for the next phase, 4 more, plus 24 in the end. Yeah, that's a lot of spins.
Yeah.
This is why you shouldn't do math live on stream. I'm glad you had that number prepared, Tosh.
Luckily, we only have to worry about 12 spins in the fourth phase, and we can just slash 6 times for each of the first 2. So the first 2 phases should be fairly simple to get through. Oh, but we get a nice old Ganon hug there, taking out 6 hearts, even on blue mail.
Yeah, Ganon hugs are definitely not very good. Oh, jeez. Do fire bats do 4 damage to blue mail?
They do 3, it looks like.
3, okay.
I can never remember exactly how much they do to all the different males.
Yeah, I guess I mostly just remember Ganon hugs because those tend to be the most punishing.
Now, here we are, we're well underway into the third phase. We got to hit him once for each of the sides of the arena here to fall.
You mentioned synchronization of randomization for the bosses. Ganon will always do the same number of teleports for the very first fight, but once things change after that, they can get mixed up a little bit.
Yeah, I think it only holds true for the very first time you fall into the fight, which is, I think, what you were trying to get into there.
Yeah, that's a much better way of explaining it than whatever I was going for there.
There we go. We got the torch glitch, and we got our first spin underway.
Yeah, torch glitch is so critical if you're new to the Silverless Ganon fight. There are some runners that will actually take a fall off the side and choose to reactivate the fight if they don't get torch glitch.
It's certainly a decent strategy to have if you're on Gold Sword and you're not too comfortable with the Silverless aspect.
Alright, so I think, yeah, with Silverless, Febreze really just knocking out these hits here. Definitely having a much better go of it.
Making sure to get at least 2 spins per torch cycle here. Ooh, but gets hit a little bit. I'm going to use one of the potions, stay alive.
Yep, you go to the trouble of getting all that potion. Might as well make use of it. Plus, also that delicious blue goo. I assume it tastes like blue raspberry. So why would you not want to drink it?
I hope so. I'd be disappointed if it tasted like NyQuil. Gotta chug a whole bottle of that if you want to feel better.
The NyQuil does contain 10% alcohol, Taj. I don't know if you knew that. That's the more you know kind of moment.
Well, sure, it helps to numb a little bit, but it's still NyQuil.
Tastes like medicine. I don't think NyQuil fully restores all of your hearts or magic meter, though.
Maybe your magic meter.
This stream is not sponsored by Vicks, by the way.
But here we go. Febreze Ninja has finished the Ganon fight.
Yeah, getting that torch glitch and being a lot more solid on those spins in the second round. And Febreze Ninja is going to catch that sweet sub 2 hour, which is always a very nice time to get.
And finishes,
especially on a seed with hookshot in swamp.
Yeah. Finishes in 101st place with a time of 1 hour, 56 minutes, and 23 seconds.
Yeah, get your GGs out in chat. Definitely a solid performance by Febreze Ninja there. Showed off some pretty nice bottle glitch tech in Palace of Darkness. Was the first runner to get, I believe, both Boots and Cane of Samaria.
Yeah, getting the Boots out of pod early did help for some of the later checks, for sure.
So, yeah, definitely a solid performance there. And again, just if you place 101st out of a larger race, it doesn't really matter. It's just your times in comparison to the average of the top 3 runners. So definitely looking forward to seeing more out of all these runners. We'll see if we can't get Febreze Ninja in for an interview here.
As we go ahead and watch the credits roll by. And actually, as I'm looking at it, the collection rates on our other 3 runners are actually rather interesting. We've got 132, 132, 133.
Yeah, that's actually frighteningly close. Especially when you consider the slightly different routing that these runners had toward the mid-game.
And what other checks that some of them chose to orphan, such as Bentizi choosing to orphan parts of Hera, Leslie Pro, I think, orphaned some other things on the overworld.
All right,
we are joined by Febreze Ninja. How you doing?
Yeah, GG Febreze Ninja.
Thanks. That was kind of rough there.
Every time I get done with a seed like that, I always think, wow, that sure was a seed.
I think the Triforce responded in kind, saying something along the lines of, well, that just happened.
Yeah.
What was... oh, go ahead, Febreze.
I should have bailed when I missed the torch glitch.
That's
we
one
were
of the
talking
hard
about that during
decisions
your
to
fight.
make.
Yeah, the Silverless Ganon fight without torch glitch is definitely a tough one. But yeah, I do have to ask you, what were you thinking when the seed was going on and you started to realize you were going to have to make that always feels bad hook shotless swamp play?
Well, at that point, my tracker was entirely gray and red. So I just had to do it.
You were the first of our runners to head into Palace of Darkness, which you wound up using the bottle glitch there. The only one of our runners to do that, considering that we found out the bow was on Death Mountain shortly after you had already dipped into it.
Right.
So what was going through your mind when you were deciding to go through that?
It's just a bit of my personal superstition is that pod will always have progression, and if I've got spare potions, why not?
Well, in this case, it sort of paid off, because we did find out that the Arcane of Samaria was in fact boots locked, and you were the first to grab it.
Unfortunately, like you said, they were finding bow at the same time, so it was not much of a shortcut. Didn't buy too much time.
Well, we may have found the bow, but we didn't have the mirror at the time either, so we didn't know exactly how to access it, so it wasn't too much of a loss in that regard.
Yeah, in
Right.
fact, you were set up. You were set up for a lot of success with that early play in early Samaria. It turned out that the way the seed oriented itself with Mitts being in Swamp, that you never had really a chance to put that early Samaria to use, unfortunately.
Yeah, it could have been a great bonus, but just didn't turn out this way this time with the way I routed.
That's a randomizer for you, my friend.
Yep.
Well, excellent. Any final thoughts or anything you want to share about this seed for Breeze Ninja?
Seed was fine. But while I'm on here, I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to the Go Mode podcast. It's quite enjoyable.
Awesome.
Talking about Randomizer.
Alrighty then. How many of these qualifiers have you been into so far? Is this the first race you've had in those, or second or third, or?
This is my second race. I was on vacation last week, so got to cram in the rest in this weekend and next weekend.
Any ideas on things you want to practice in the meantime while you're gearing up for those?
Well, I think just general execution. I'm getting better at the early parts of the game, but late parts I still waste a lot of time.
Yeah, it can
Yeah,
be
this
hard
game
to,
is definitely one of those things where you can dig in any one section of it and find small or large ways to improve. So I learn new things every day, especially when I get to watch other runners play and see their different strategies.
Yeah, particularly now that I remember it, Skullwoods. I need to practice back of Skullwoods.
Yeah, it is definitely a mummy and spike-filled nightmare. Also Moth.
Yep.
yeah, Moth,
Well,
the most annoying boss.
Luckily, Buttersword takes good work of him, and he was very friendly. Came charger at me.
He just wants a hug.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, well, thanks for racing. Good game to you, sir.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, once again, congratulations to all of our runners, putting on an excellent show. Make sure you give those guys a follow. They took the time out to race with us and give us a good show. And I want to give some thanks to my buddy, my friend, my co-commentator, Taj. So thanks for joining me on this wonderful adventure.
Boy, it's been fun, Files.
Indeed. So yeah, make sure you, if you're interested in this tournament, make sure you keep following the action. We've got qualifiers going on, not every day, but close to every day. I think about the second half of them is about to start shortly. So make sure you check that out.
I think there were 15 or so scheduled, and we're only just reaching the halfway point, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And that's only just the tip of the iceberg, Taj, because after that starts the group phase, which is where the true insanity begins.
I'm looking forward to it.
As am I. So yeah, if you haven't already, make sure you check out this and other great content on the Speed Gaming family of channels, Speed Gaming 1 through 6, or Speed Gaming and then Speed Gaming 2 through 6. Lots of great stuff on here, so make sure you check it out. That'll be it for us. You guys have a good night, and we'll see you next mission.
Catch you all later.